Come, walk down the winding path. Don't mind the spooks and monsters. They stay hidden within the trees. There are mysteries in this world that you need to know, and paranormal truths that need to be told. Come, step up into the caravan, where we share tales of old as well as new accounts about things you thought only existed in your nightmares. Welcome back inside the caravan, travelers. It's been a little while since our last stop. I'm your host, Lady Anne, and I am excited to introduce someone else who will be journeying with us. I would like you to meet the mythical, the magical Heather Moser.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. You've probably, well, I would hope that you have been reading along in the blog, so you may be a little bit familiar with me by this point, but maybe you haven't heard my voice yet in one way or another. So now you get to hear me.
Yes, the blogs have been amazing. You know, the first one that I remember you wrote, and it wasn't for the caravan, it was for over at Into the Fray, the Will o' the Wisps.
Oh, yes.
That really stuck with me and has to be one of my top favorite stories.
Aw, thanks. Yeah, I write some stuff over there for the Weird Writer blog, and the Will o' the Wisp one it was fun. I try to do things a little more academic, I guess, over there, just a little more matter of fact with a few stories thrown in. And it was researching for that one that I found out that Will o' the Wisps have even more names than I realized. Of course, I think most of us are familiar with spook lights and ghost lights, but my favorite alternative was jack-o'-lantern. I thought that was super cool. But I liked, we brought in the spook lights, the Will o' the Wisps for the blog here at the caravan, the blue flame at the crossroads.
Yes, no, that was really great. I love that because there's another story. I don't know. I'm sure you've heard it. Mako Light. Have you heard that one?
No.
It's where there's a man. His name was Joe Baldwin, and he was working on a train, and he knew that this other train was going to collide with his, and it would kill the people on board and everything. So he ended up standing there, and he had his lantern, and he's trying to, stop them. And he knew, though, that if he was successful, he'd lose his life, but he'd save others. So he did what he had to do. He passes away. He was decapitated. And the story goes that around those parts of the woods, around those train tracks, you could see like a lantern light floating around in the woods. And they said, of course, it was him trying to find his head.
Sure. Yeah, I've read a handful of ones where not necessarily even in the woods, but just off the side of the road where someone was killed. And a similar thing, a lantern light shows up during certain times of the year even. And the decapitated, the part that you mentioned, that's pretty interesting. If you start searching in old newspapers, sometimes you can actually go back and find articles about these people that were decapitated and then the subsequent hauntings that occur afterwards.
Right.
There's a story up in Canada in one of the lumber camps where the year's escaping me now, but it's the early 1900s if you go back through some archives, and there's a story about a headless ghost up there that drove away a lot of the lumberjacks. He was by a spring or a well or something, and one guy went out to gather some water and saw the headless ghost and freaked out and ran away. And then several years later, somebody else made their way there, and as they were going to leave, they could hear the ghost headless say, "No, don't go. I just need you to find my family and tell them who I am." And the guy was so shocked he couldn't recall the name that he gave him, but he was supposedly some outdoorsman from Boston who had disappeared several years earlier, but he wanted someone to listen and tell his family why he didn't come home. But yeah, those kind of things, the anniversary tales, even the hauntings show up at certain times, and those spook lights, and sometimes just during certain events too. Like Some spook lights show up before ships are said to have crashed or sunk into
Mm.
the ocean. There's sometimes spook lights that appear before that happens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know how much warning you get if you see it. Uh, I don't know if that's
Right.
something that happens as you're actively sinking or a 5-minute warning. I don't know.
Yeah, see, that would be hard because with those lights, I mean, it could be a million different things. It's either,
Right.
like you said, it's somebody that's maybe trying to find their family or find something of their own, and or it's a warning of some sort. But then there's, like we've talked about in the Disney movie Brave,
Mm-hmm.
where she follows them and it changes her destiny, which is fantastic. But then
Yeah.
in other stories, if you follow it, it's bad. But I can't
Yeah.
deny that I wouldn't be able to not follow them.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would if and that is even fully aware of the lore that sometimes the sole purpose is for them to lead a traveler astray. And
Right.
we have stories of men coming home from a midnight evening with a girlfriend, walking through the
Mm.
fields and seeing the light and following it. And by the next morning, they're miles away from their
Oh,
intended
wow.
destination. But yeah, no, I would follow it. I, I don't know, especially if it actually looked like a flame.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
how do you not? I don't, yeah,
No,
no.
it would be really, really intense. It's like, um, there's the stories where maybe you're out at sea. I mean, this would be more of like a siren where you can hear the beautiful
Right.
song, but there's also
Mhm.
stories where you hear this beautiful song in the woods. That is another thing that I would have to know. Like, can I sneak up on it? Can I see it without getting caught? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, there are some absolutely that you can, um, as far as the sirens, when you get into that whole realm of sirens, banshees, that kind of thing,
mhm.
there are some that you can sneak up on in lore. Over it's like Irish lore, Welsh lore, where you have and I will not remember how to pronounce it, but there's the Benai out of Ireland, and that's the one that you can sneak up on her. She's a weeping woman, and
Oh.
she's the one, I believe she's the one that will, if you see an elderly woman kind of crying and over, it could be a puddle of water, it could be her at the edge of the stream
Hmm.
or a lake, and she's washing clothes.
Oh,
If
wow.
you get closer, you'll start to recognize one that the water is red and the
Hmm.
clothes are bloody. And the more you pay
Hmm.
attention, you're probably going to recognize the clothes as either your own or someone that you know.
Oh my
And that's,
gosh.
she's one of the Harbinger of Doom characters, I guess, in folklore.
Wow.
So she's one that you can sneak up behind her and get, if you catch her just the right way, which is, it's ridiculous what you have to do, but you can sneak up on her. And if you catch her, then I believe she will grant you a wish. I don't really remember exactly how that ends because the
Oh,
catching part
wow.
is so ridiculous. Um, but yeah, she's one of them that you can catch up on. And then the one with the spook light that comes with the ship, that you can hear a woman crying beforehand, before the ship
Oh.
is to sink, and it's like a banshee call, but it's not a banshee. There's a different name for that one. I believe that's Welsh, and she lets out this cry. It's like a death
Mm.
cry that someone is
Right.
actively passing, and then the lights accompany that as well.
Oh,
But yeah,
wow.
it all goes hand in hand. Those are the bad lights, though, I guess. You see the lights and somebody. I will say that if I'm hearing somebody screaming like they're dying, I will probably not follow the lights. I mean, maybe to see if I could
Right.
help somebody, but I don't know.
True. That would be
Uh,
it'd be a little scary because then I'd feel like, are you gonna come across a really
yeah,
scary cryptid that's
I know.
doing the deed? Like, like
Yeah.
I don't want to run into a dog man or a
Oh no.
wendigo. I think those would be the two
Mm-mm.
top cryptids that I would probably be the most. I don't know if you could call a wendigo a cryptid though, but
Yeah, that's
the
really
two top
complicated.
feared.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't even know if I'd be able to handle seeing Bigfoot. I mean, part of me says I want to, but uh,
Mhm.
so many people that I've talked to or heard interviews with that saw them and how that completely
Right.
changes their life. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you can categorize it properly and maybe, I don't know. I just mentally, I don't know what it would do until you're put in the position, I guess. Does that kind of
Right.
really change your
No.
worldview to see something like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had an experience. I didn't see anything, but I could hear something that was
Hmm.
walking that was larger than anything that I've ever heard. The strides, like how close it got to me in the tent with my children. It was a
Yeah.
really terrifying experience.
Hmm.
And even though we are in the realm of all this stuff and it is
Yeah.
so fantastic and I love it,
Hmm.
if you are to actually see something physically in front of you, then it's not just, oh my gosh, this exists. Then you bring in the, well, what about everything else?
Right.
What
Oh,
isn't not?
yeah. How far does this go?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
even if I were to hear, I don't know, if I were to hear a howl with my own ears while I was out in the woods, that would
Hmm.
be exciting as long as it was at a distance. And
Mm.
but
Yes.
it also comes into if I were to be close enough to something like that, if I were to see it or hear it, even the footsteps that close, you get
Right.
to the point of, well, this could kill me right now. If it wanted to, I could be done.
Yes.
That it's all in its hands now. And that that's the part that unnerves me.
Right. No, it was, yeah, it was really incredible because it was so close that I swore that if it was going to take one or two more steps, because my tent was unzipped at the time,
Oh,
I swore that I was going to see it. And I was frozen. This was the
hmm.
hardest part about it is everybody talks about fight or flight, and I have freeze.
Yep.
It's so
It's
bad.
actually three F's. Yeah. Fight, flight, or freeze. It happens.
Yeah, and I don't know how I was able to, I don't know, click out of it, but I don't know, all I could do was lunge forward and zip the tent up
Hmm.
because I didn't want to see it. I'm sitting there going, well, if it's over, it's over, but I just don't want to see it. And so the crazy thing was is it stopped. There was no sound after that for the rest of the night, and that was what
Hmm.
was really unnerving is because I never heard it walk away. But
Oh,
these were loud
no.
footsteps.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe he disappeared. That because
right?
there's the whole idea of being able to go in and out of portals. Maybe that it was that kind of
Right.
a situation. But did you smell anything? Because I've heard there's
No.
a distinct smell.
See, that
Yeah.
was the other thing that made me question it even more was that there was no smell.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's funny because there is a big debate about portals and
Hmm.
Sasquatch being, are they spiritual or are they a physical thing? There are two completely different camps on it.
Yeah.
But having the one experience that I've recently come out about with the, I don't know what you'd want to call it, maybe interdimensional being, the
Right.
alien looking thing that I took the photo of,
Hmm.
to see that just manifest out of nowhere and to see it completely disappear like it walked through an invisible door. That right
Hmm.
there was, I mean, it's funny because on one end it makes you question everything, but then on the other hand you try to rationalize it and you're like, no, no, I didn't experience
Right.
anything. But then you've got the picture that makes you go, oh man, I did, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, even within a family that I know, they had interaction, well, not interactions with, I shouldn't say, they didn't interact with Bigfoot, but they had sightings within,
Mhm.
I feel like it was within a few months, but it's the same family, same household, two different sightings, two different people, and they were vastly different. The one was seeing a Sasquatch, and the next day being able to go and
Mm.
actually cast a footprint because it had left an impression in a sand trap at a golf
Oh,
course.
wow.
And so they had that. So it was a physical being. They saw it,
Mhm.
looked like an animal, a large animal, and left a footprint. Then the
Wow.
next ones that in that area that saw it, um, Sasquatch just kind of dissipated like a mist, I believe, is how they described it.
Mm.
Just they saw it walking away and then it just kind of slowly vanished as if it were, I don't know, fading into smoke, or I don't know if that would be stepping
Right.
through a portal or what, but it was the same area and even the same group of people, and
Right.
completely different experiences.
That story makes me think of Linda Godfrey's book Monsters Among Us. And there was
Mm-hmm.
a photograph that she had taken, and it was misty, and there was those prints in the snow, if I'm recalling it right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so then Dogman would have the same possibility of having that ability to just dissipate. So then that's a whole different ball game. Like, why do these things, even though they're completely different creatures, why
Mm-hmm.
are they able to do the same thing?
Well, that's kind of alluded to in, well, not alluded to, it's straight up in the pictures of the Small Town Monsters documentary that they did on the Bray Road Beast, which Linda Godfrey is absolutely a part of that. Um,
Hmm.
they went to one of the farms on Bray Road or near Bray Road, and the guy had
Hmm.
set up a trail cam because things were happening. He would put out dead animals and
Right.
they would disappear, and some of them were very large. So he put a deer out and set up a trail cam. And although he never saw a dog man,
Mm.
what he did see on the camera was a mist coming out of the woods. Like you see it come out of the woods, you see it cover up
Right.
the deer, and then it's gone. Like the deer's gone, the mist
Yeah.
is gone. So yeah, no, you're right. It's
It's a really terrifying thought because then to go back to sit there and go, okay, so let's say this is real. Let's say you see it and it's real. Okay, so now it has these magical powers. And then and then it just makes you think, okay, because then bring it into your house, okay? So you have people who
I don't want it in my
you've
house. No.
right? But you have people that, okay, so Shadow Man, the shadow
No.
entities, and
Hmm.
that stuff just manifesting or appearing, and
Sure.
it's just such a fascinating thought. Like these things have no boundaries. There's, you know
Stay
what I
out of my
mean?
house. Are they? You mean that they ignore that they're in someone's house, or that they can just appear anywhere? Like you're invading my space.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
well, I mean, yeah, if that exists, then why would they recognize our boundaries? They shouldn't have
Right.
to, I guess. If if you have that ability, why would you? Um,
Right.
I've heard kids talk about, of course, kids are supposedly more, um, I guess,
In
sensitive,
tune.
you would say. Yeah. And I've heard children say things like, oh, well, there's a spirit right there on the stairs. And it's just looking around. It's not like, I don't know, as if it was just passing through or something. It's just looking
Hmm.
around. It's not doing anything. Um, so then, in that, hearing stuff like that then makes me think that they're aware that a lot of people can't see them or
Right.
don't choose to or whatever, so they might as well just do their own thing. And then I guess if they can tell that they're noticed, then maybe they'll do something. Maybe they'll be
Right.
happy then. I
No,
don't
it
know.
is fascinating that you can, I don't know, turn it off.
Yeah.
Mentally, I think that, I mean, then again, if you have that mindset where you're like, no, everything is rational, then you
Hmm.
can see that entity or spirit or whatever pop right in front of you, and you're going to explain it away like it was a refraction of light and a shadow from the whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've even read about in Jake Richards' Backwoods Witchcraft, he talks about his sister had a
Mm,
gift and she kind of prayed it away. It really was
mm,
something she didn't want any longer, and so she prayed it
right.
away, willed it away. It's gone. She doesn't have it anymore. So
Wow.
I suppose if
That's kind
you're,
of a sad thought. I mean, it's
I thought so.
hard. Yeah. I mean, I agree. It can be a really hard and difficult thing. I know for me personally, I've talked a lot throughout the episodes on different things that have happened, but then you get to this point where you might have so much happen, then I don't know, no matter what you do, you do feel like you're crazy, even if you have people experience it with you.
Hmm.
However, it adds something else to life. And
Right.
for the thought of it just being completely gone,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's yeah.
Yeah, I can see perhaps a child or having a gift like that since you're young and going
Mhm.
through, especially certain stages of life that are already difficult, and then
Right.
having this on top of it, that might be
Mhm.
too much and you kind of wish it away. Or even as a child, a small child trying to explain something to your parents, what you're seeing, and they tell you it's just a nightmare or you're just making it up.
Mm.
It's just an imaginary friend. It's whatever. And they
Right.
talk you out of it to the point that you either think, yeah, I guess it is my imagination, or you just quit communicating about it because you know what
Mm.
you see and nobody else is believing you.
That's hard.
Yeah, but I don't have that ability that I'm aware. I mean, I'll catch things out of my eye or out of the corner of my eye every once in a while, but I can't
Mhm.
just see a spirit in the room at any given point or anything like that, although that would be sweet. I would be up for that. That I'm up for.
I a lot of see, oh man. I don't know because for me, I'm a feeler, so I might see
Mhm.
an image in my mind, a picture, and I
Right.
can feel things, or maybe I'll see something physically move. Maybe I can capture something on camera, but it's
Mhm.
never like you are just standing in front of me. I think I
Right.
think that would be too much for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would be unnerving that if something just popped up in front of me, but I don't know. I totally understand the people that live in a house that's haunted and they just kind of,
Mm.
that one of the memes that went around a few weeks ago was something about, that you live in a haunted house whenever the doors start slamming at 3 a.m. and you're like, all right, Frank,
Mm.
stop it. That's enough. Um,
I like it.
you're just used to it by that point. I would be up for that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. I don't know
Yeah,
about paranormal activity level. That I can't do that. Don't rip me out of bed at night or anything. Leave
right.
three-toed footprints and baby powder that's left on the floor. I don't want that nonsense.
Right. No, I think some mild stuff, hearing cupboards or maybe hearing footsteps or something might be eventually okay to deal with. One of my friends, she actually grew up in a haunted house, and I spent a lot of time over there, and you'd
Mhm,
mostly hear it if you were downstairs. It just sounded like a child running across
mhm,
the hallway upstairs, and that was about it. So you'd hear it, and it was just like, oh, okay, she's out playing, and you pay it no mind, and you go on with your day, and nothing else ever. I mean, we ended up having one experience, but other than that, it was just pretty peaceful. So I could do something like
mhm.
that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I was growing up, the a house I grew up in, there were a few things that happened. I guess even I did see something once, but I suppose it has to do with the energy and intent behind it as to whether you can just pay it no mind. Like
Hmm.
the one of the first things that I can recall is where my bedroom was. To get to the kitchen, you'd have to walk down the hallway, and my parents' bedroom was even past mine. And so, in the middle of the night, mom and dad might get up at different times to go get a drink of water or something, and they
Hmm.
had distinct footsteps. Like I could tell without being out in the
Uh-huh.
hallway if it was mom or my dad. They just
Mm-hmm.
walked differently. The stride was different. And the one night I hadn't fallen asleep yet, and I heard dad get up and I heard him walk down the hallway, and then he didn't come back. Because I would always just, if I heard them, I'd just stay awake and listen to them turn the water on and walk back, and then I'd fall back asleep. But I didn't hear him come back. And so I actually got up and I walked out in the hallway because I thought, what's wrong? And he was asleep. He was just snoring. Mom and Dad were both asleep. All the lights were out. There was nobody in the kitchen, but I heard him walk all the way down past my door, all the way down the hallway and into the kitchen. And there was nothing, but I wasn't scared. It was just, oh, all right. Well, cool.
Right.
I suppose it also probably has to do with maybe a little bit how you were raised. I mean, if you're raised to fear that kind of stuff, I'm sure that you would. Or explain it away.
Yeah, right. That is something that I've had talks with people. I mean, because I'm a huge advocate for being open and honest. Like, personally, for me with my kids, that's how I am. I feel that I feel that I know that this stuff is, it is what it is. It's a part of our world. And, you know, I spoke to somebody once and they're like, well, our house is haunted and everything, but you know, my child will ask questions and I say, oh, it's just the house settling. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, you're telling your child that the house is settling. What happens if this child has a gift and sees this spirit in their room? Okay, so now at this point, then it can be traumatic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like with my kids, by the time they were, I think they were around 3 or 4, and I got a big kick out of it because I saw them playing in the yard, and they had their hands like they were holding something, and they were waving it in the air, and I could hear them yelling, "Sage, sage, sage!"
That's hilarious.
So, I mean, as long as you know how to deal with that and how to cleanse and the protection things, I mean, you know,
yeah,
I think it's all
exactly.
good.
Well, and that's why after watching a show, one of the, I don't know, it was earlier in the spring, I went over to visit my parents and they had me watch this show that, because we don't have DirecTV or anything anymore, so I miss out on a lot of the current stuff unless it's on like Hulu or Netflix. And there's this show called These Woods Are Haunted.
Oh.
And so they had said, oh, well, there's an Ohio one. There's a handful from Ohio, but so they had saved it and I turned it on and it was this woman that had gone, it ended up being Mansfield, the prison at Mansfield, or if you've seen Shawshank Redemption, it's the same prison, the old Ohio State Reformatory. And the woman ends up bringing some sort of entity home, and they kind of allude to that it attached itself to her from the prison and then came home. By the way, if you've seen that episode, it's Mansfield, and Mansfield never had a fire. When she's going on the backstory of the prison, she actually mixes up the histories of the old Ohio penitentiary, which does not exist anymore. It was torn down, I think it was torn down in 1998, I believe, and it was in Columbus. And that's where there was a massive fire and a lot of inmates lost their lives or whatever, but that did not happen at Mansfield. But I don't know if it makes for a better story or she was confused. I don't know. Either way, Mansfield didn't have a fire. It's still creepy. I mean, you don't need to add the fire for it to be creepy, but so I, prior to the pandemic, was scheduled to go on a ghost hunt, my first one at Mansfield. And that was already scheduled whenever I watched this show with my parents. And my mom said, are you sure you still want to go? Are you sure you don't want to bring anything home? And I was like, it'll be all right. I will, if anything, watching this show reminded me that I should probably bring sage and make sure I burn that before I even get in the car. Yeah, because in the story that's recounted on that show, she saw something and then she ran away. Like, she just ran back to her car and drove all the way back to Cincinnati, which is not a short drive.
Wow.
But she made it seem like she just hopped in the car and went home, so I don't think there was any type of protection things. And it's also not my intent to, which I don't, she didn't allude that she did this either, but I'm certainly not going to do this where you taunt things because I think that's foolish. Um,
Yes.
so I know some people do that to get, but no, I don't. I've even yelled at when my kids have been talking about ghosts and things, particularly
Mhm.
around Halloween, of course. My son, every once in a while, will just say, well, if you see a ghost, you just, you yell at it, tell it to get away, and what's it think it's doing, and blah, blah. Like, don't you dare ever do that. Walk away, whatever, but I don't ever want to hear, even in play, you getting mouthy with some sort of spirit. That's
Right.
asking for trouble. But
Oh yeah. No, I agree. It's there's a lot of shows. It's really surprising that there are so many shows out there where they think that that's how they're really going to get them riled up and get
mhm.
those, you know, the video footage or the
The scratches
spirit
on their
box.
back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just like, and I think you and we touched on this before, that ghosts and everything, they're people just like us.
Hmm.
Just because they're ghosts doesn't mean they're some kind of like monster or scary entity. This was a human, and so I think that kindness goes a long way.
Right. I mean, I
So,
don't like to be antagonized, and I've
right,
had people in my life that they think that's the best way to get a reaction out of anybody,
right.
and they'll try that with me, and then I don't communicate with them after that because
Oh
I don't
yeah, no, just leave.
yeah, I don't like to be approached like that. I don't like to be antagonized. So I think it's
Yeah.
also a little bit, if you were a ghost and you were actually trapped somewhere, how
Mm,
irritated, I think after a while, you would be irritated with everybody coming in and just trying to get you to do tricks for them. Um,
right.
Show yourself now. Scratch my arm, pinch me. But
Right.
I don't know. But then you have the entities that already kind of have a predisposition to not be
Mm,
super friendly. So, like the Bell Witch Cave, you have the Bell Witch, the
mm,
Bell Witch. I'm not even sure if that's all. I don't think that it's just one particular entity, but
right.
definitely there's history there that shows that she or they or it or whatever is not a huge fan of men in general. And
Right.
so even today, there will be men that go into the cave on a tour, and sometimes they'll be a little bit, I don't know, shrug it off when they start talking about it.
Mm,
They get a little bit macho or mouthy, and
mhm.
have been scratched or smacked or whatever or pushed down, and then they run out of there scared to death because they were being
Right.
disrespectful. So yeah, it's best to just not be rude, I'd say. Like you said, kindness goes a long way.
Yeah. No, exactly. And then it's almost like you have to learn the abilities to interact with our world. When you're a
Right.
spirit, it seems like one might be able to maybe move a curtain, but the ability to actually move a can per se, it's
Right.
like advanced or something. So that's really
Yeah.
interesting too.
Well, I suppose that probably wouldn't be any different than a person being able to hone their skills to pick up on energies and things, right?
That's
I
true.
mean,
Yeah.
you might start with just a everybody has the ability to, when you have that feeling that you're being watched.
Yeah.
I suppose it might start there. You have that feeling, and then there's not a person around, and you kind of take note of what's going on at the time, and just kind of focus on that feeling maybe, and then eventually expand it. But I think on a basic instinct level, we probably already have that ability built in. It's just we haven't expanded upon it necessarily.
Right.
Steve Stockton had me on a show once and had asked me for a scary story. It was a zombified um,
Mm.
morning show, and he had told me it was my first time on there. And before we got on there, he's like, "It's okay if you have like a scary story to tell," which I'm not the best on the spot storyteller. I can write stuff out and
Mm.
I can read it to you, but just on a whim is kind of tough for me. So
Right.
I wasn't the best at conveying this story. However, the story goes that I was at Mansfield Reformatory because that's one of my favorite places to visit.
Mhm.
And everybody there that I was with, they were having things happen, whether it was having a headache all of a sudden
Mm.
or feeling like they couldn't breathe or seeing lights. I mean, stuff was happening and I was
Wow.
getting none of it. And I don't know if it's because I was just so excited that I couldn't, like, I'm just always excited to be at Mansfield. And then when other people started having stuff, I was probably just more amped up. And so at one
Mm.
point, we were at, we were in this one room, and I believe, if I'm recalling this correctly, it's in the library, like the periodical room, which
Mhm.
it's a much it's more than just one room. But there's this one back area that I don't think there's anything in that room actually, other than there's a doorway where you can get into the I don't know if it's like a tower or turret or something. I don't even know. I'm horrible at explaining this. But anyway, in this room, and everybody in there was having this feeling, and they're like, you have to feel something. And it's like walking into a wall right now. Like,
Mm.
it's so overwhelming. And I got pissed. And I was like,
Mm.
what? So this is not fair that everybody is having, like, I threw a little fit almost without actually
Oh,
throwing a fit. But I was like, what is this?
right.
It's totally not fair that I can't feel anything. And as soon as I said that, I got this pain, sharp, sharp pain in the back of my head at the
Oh.
base of my skull, like somebody took a ball bat to me or something. It was
Oof.
enough to cause me to double over and have to catch
Wow.
my breath. And I was like, all right, I got it. Cool. All right. And the funny thing is there were different places where, especially where other people were having things that I would, even before they'd say something, I would feel this tingle in the back
Mm.
of my skull, right at the base of my skull, at the back of my neck, on my right
Mhm.
side specifically for some reason. I would feel this tingle and then they would say something or whatever. Like I would feel that, but I just thought, I don't know. I don't know. I was
Right.
just ignoring it, I guess. And so that's where that pain was though. After I had
Wow.
my little meltdown about why can't I feel anything? And I feel like that was sort of a right there. Like we've been trying to tell you, it's this
Right.
spot, Heather, this spot. And so,
Wow.
yeah. So thank you, prisoners at Mansfield, spirits at Mansfield, for that one. Because then a few months later, when I got to go to Moundsville, which is another beautiful, um, if you want to if you consider prisons beautiful, the old stone prisons, which I would never want to
Yeah.
be incarcerated there by any means, but it's still a beautiful piece of architecture. When I got there, then I would try to take note of when I felt that going through the
Mm.
different rooms because it's not a constant thing, and it's different times
Wow.
that I would feel that, and so I just try to pay more attention, and then not complain. I will not complain again if I'm not picking up on anything because I don't need
Right.
my butt kicked because actually been ignoring something and not realizing it.
Right. Wow. Man, what an experience. That's really cool.
Yeah.
See, and I
And
wanna go to places like that. I've always wanted to go to the asylums and the penitentiaries, and I've never been to
see,
anything.
that's why you need to move to Ohio because um where I am, there's actually a really nice loop going on here. I can get to
Oh.
Mansfield within an hour and a half, and then
Mhm.
I can go down south and be across the river within an hour and a half to Moundsville
Wow.
because it's right on the Ohio River. And then if you want to do a whole day, which I haven't had a chance to go there yet, and of course with everything going on this summer, it's probably not going to happen either. But from here, it's about a I don't know 5-6 hour drive maybe down
Mhm.
to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, which
Oh,
has
wow.
but that's in West Virginia.
Okay.
So, I mean, like it's a big loop. We had an awesome summer trip planned out where we
Mm.
were going to go south down to Moundsville again because I will always want to go to Moundsville if I'm in West Virginia. Go down to
Mhm.
Moundsville, hit the prison and the Archive of the Afterlife that Steve Hummel runs that's full of haunted artifacts. It's really cool. See all
Oh,
that, then go down to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, head over to Brushy Mountain State Pen,
wow.
which is really cool. I've never been there, but it looks really sweet. Um, I believe you've got like, if I'm remembering correctly, the way it looks, you've got the prison and then the back walls, like they'd have the prison yard, and then the back is the mountain.
Mhm.
So,
Oh,
like, that's
wow.
what kept you in
Oh,
was the mountain. So there's
wow.
that, and then go over across Tennessee, see the remnants of what was left after the tornado hit the Tennessee prison, that's been out of
Mm.
commission there because that got hit by a tornado back in early spring, and there's only part of it left. It wasn't open for tours, I don't believe, anymore, but you can still drive by it. So drive there, then head over to the Bell Witch
Wow.
Cave, which is in northern
Mhm.
Tennessee on the western side, and then back up through. See, it's just a big loop, and then back up through Ohio, hit
Right.
Mansfield, and then come back home. It was just going to be a really awesome loop. And Adams, Tennessee, I believe, is not that far from Kelly Hopkinsville, where the Hopkinsville Goblins is. If you're into Hellier and all that, which this
Oh,
existed before
yeah.
Hellier, of course. But it's
Right.
got to be nearby. I should Google it, but it's got to be close because I always see the sign on the way to Adams that
Wow.
Kelly Hopkinsville is not that far away. So it's all right there, and that's
Yeah.
why you need to move to Ohio, or West Virginia even, and New
No,
York.
see, that would be amazing.
And if you move to this side of the state, because I'm on the eastern side of Ohio, if you are here, then that also puts you within, I think, a 4-hour drive of the prison in Philadelphia, which is Eastern State Penitentiary.
Oh,
So we've got all these
yes.
cool things.
Wow.
There's more stuff too, but I'm not trying to like sell you on Ohio, even though it's really cool. But
I've been it's amazing though because there is so much over there and it's so funny because a lot of from doing genealogy and everything, I have a lot of family that's from Kentucky, West Virginia areas,
the
Virginia,
Appalachian
and
girl. Yes.
yes, exactly. Oh my gosh. So no, I'd love to come home.
Yes, come home. Come home to us. I mean, not trying to
I
sound too
love it.
ominous or anything, but come home. Come home.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
But yeah, I mean, and because of again, not to sell you on Ohio, but like there's Route 77 on this side of the state that'll get you. I mean, that'll take you right down the Appalachian Mountains,
Oh,
um,
wow.
straight down south, and I don't even know where that stops. If it stops in Georgia, don't nobody. I don't want anybody getting on me because I got the directions wrong. But it takes you down through several states, and you can
Wow.
definitely just. I don't know. I just remember my senior year of high school, right after graduation. A good friend of mine and I went to Myrtle Beach. We drove. That was the
Mm.
first trip, like road trip without family. She and I together
Oh,
took a
cool.
road trip down. This is before GPS. So we had a paper foldable map. Take notes, people.
Right.
And um, I remember when we went to come home, because Myrtle Beach is on the coast, so it takes you a while to get over to 77. We had to get the map out because there were major road closures. So we had to take all these back roads through South
Oh,
Carolina
no.
and into North Carolina before we could get to 77 for whatever reason. But once I got on 77, it just felt like I was home, even though I was several states away, because that just straight shot
Mm.
right back home once you get on 77. But
Right.
anyway, people from this area will know what I'm talking about. Everybody else will be like, what in the world?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff that I want to see over there. I'd love to, man, the mansions in Georgia and I want to go down to Louisiana, oh, especially and
Oh,
check out the cemeteries and stuff. Oh man.
yeah.
And of course, as I've said before, I have a big fascination with fireflies. I've never seen one, and I always thought
What?
that,
No,
man,
what? How's that?
fireflies, yeah, I've
They don't
never
have
seen
lightning
one.
bugs where you live? They don't
No,
have
they
that.
don't. And I've seen videos, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're like real magic. And so I've always dreamed of being able to see one.
Oh, yep, they're magical, all right. They, yeah.
Oh no.
Those are one of the bugs that I don't mind being on me. Like, actually, you go out and you catch them,
Hmm.
and then you hold them or put them in jars or whatever, and you don't have to do that. But if you do, please let them out. Don't leave them in the jars so that they die, because they have
Right.
specific strobing effects to find their partner. And no, I don't. Anyway, but they're completely harmless. You grab them and they're so cute. Wow. I guess it never crossed my mind that lightning bugs wouldn't be, like we call them lightning bugs here, that they wouldn't be all over. I guess maybe not the
Yeah,
desert because the desert's a whole different like world. But I don't understand
right.
that. That's insane. They don't have them where you live. I can't get over that.
Oh yeah,
Well,
no, I've always said if I ever saw one, I'd probably cry.
oh my gosh,
They're
this is
so
why you come
amazing,
home.
right?
Okay. Yeah, because they're all over the place in the summer, spring and summer, and even a little bit of early fall. But summer's the time. Yeah, wow, that's unreal. Well, I
Yeah.
suppose I got out to Colorado for the first time a couple years back, and I met up with a friend who lives in Arizona. So she's used to the desert. When we got to Colorado, we actually met up in Boulder, and it was, I don't know, it was October. Yeah, it was October when we went, or September. Either way, it had been a really dry season for them, and they had signs everywhere to not burn anything because they didn't want fires.
Right.
And we got up to just to the edge of the mountains because Boulder is like literally at the edge of the Rocky Mountains. It's, well, to me, coming from where I come from, it was really, really flat. And then all of a sudden there's these foothills. So we got up to this overlook, and there's pine trees everywhere. And my friend from Arizona just says, "Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It's so green." And I said, "Are you kidding me? Everything looks dead." Because the dirt and the grass was all dead. It was brown. Yeah, the pine trees are green because they're not sick and they're always green.
Right.
But to her, coming from the desert, that was the most concentration she'd seen of green. And she could not get over when I was saying, "No, everything here is dead." That's why they've got the no burning signs, because it's dead
Right.
here. That's what all that brown is. But she's used to just desert
Right.
everywhere. So she's like, "No, it's beautiful." And I'm like, "Okay, well, when you come out to the foothills here, or even down into the like the Smoky Mountains or anything like that, you'll see what I mean. Because to me, this is dead. It's
Right.
green everywhere here." So
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I was actually talking with somebody about it this week, because I had traveled down to Arkansas, and the trees, I mean, it's so fascinating. I've been to Texas as well, but I love to see the different kinds of trees and the different kinds of birds. It's so fascinating that there are different birds and insects in different states that you just can't see. And then I couldn't believe when I came home how massive our trees are here
right.
compared to, and I was just like, whoa, I didn't realize.
Yeah, I haven't been farther west than Colorado in the United States, so I haven't seen the giant redwoods or sequoias or anything like that.
Oh, I want to
I
go
want
and see
to.
those so bad. Yeah, I've never seen those.
Yeah, because I don't know. Of course, I don't know what the trees look like in Arkansas either, so I can't speak to that. We have some big trees here, but it's not like the redwoods by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. Yeah, I've always laughed and said I want to go to indoor because they filmed that in Humboldt County, California, in the redwoods, and I've always wanted to go there. I haven't gotten to yet, but yeah,
Road
goals.
trip. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
When it's safe to fly again, I'll fly out and we'll go.
Heck yeah, that'd be awesome.
Well, I guess maybe our listeners know me a little more now. I would like to say that I like Ouija boards, and I'm trying to start a collection. So if you have one that you don't want, let me know.
Oh, perfect.
I
We'll
mean,
have
if
to
it's
do
haunted,
another.
could you let me know that first so that I can take proper precautions? But I mean, I'm all for Ouija boards, cursed objects. That's all right up my alley.
Yes, all for you.
Yeah.
You can have all of them.
I mean, here's the other thing is that I forget who it was I was talking to that was concerned over an object that I had. Oh, it was when I went out to Rhode Island and visited with my friend Rachel, and I took something that I didn't realize what I was taking, but I took something. I'm not going to get into it right now, but later we found out that I probably shouldn't have. I didn't realize, she didn't realize, whatever. So she was concerned about a little bit about that. And I said, okay, well, here's what happens though, is that I know someone who runs a museum that takes these things. So if this gets out of control, I'll just give it to him. That's my fallback. Maybe that's naive.
I like it.
But he he seeks out that stuff. So I thought if things are crazy, I'll just give it to Steve, the one that runs the Archive of the Afterlife in Moundsville.
Yeah.
I'll just take it to him. I'll just take a drive and say, here you go. And then he can do whatever he does. And then it'll be in his museum with everything else. It'll all get along really well. But
hopefully.
Yeah, that's what I try to
great.
I try to tell myself that if anybody ever gets worked up, I'm like, no, I know people who could help me if things were to go sideways.
Right.
I may not be totally prepared, but I know some people. So hopefully that'll be good enough if things get crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, no, we'll have to we'll do another episode and we'll bring on Steve Stockton.
Yes. He's one of my favorite people. He's an Appalachian too.
Yeah, you guys, both of you, I know have some Ouija board stories, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And I ordered one. I finally had ordered one. It was in April. It's coming from London, and I have not received it yet. So we shall see what happens.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, the pandemic kind of put everything on hold. Is it wooden?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
I forget what the planchette was made out of. I'll link it to you.
I'll be excited to see it. Yes, please.
Yeah.
I'm really tempted to buy something called a Luigi board. Luigi. It's one of the Etsy shops on there. And I can't remember the name of it now. She does all kinds of wooden Ouija boards. And there's one that it has Mario Brothers characters on it. And it actually said Luigi board. And the planchette is like the mushroom, the power-up mushroom.
That's
and
cool.
I want it just because it said Luigi board. And now my 5-year-old calls Ouija boards Luigi boards because I showed her that and she thought it was funny. So now that's what she calls them. Yeah. Anyway.
That's cool.
So the idea is that with some changes that have happened here, we've got a new logo. The blog has been going every Tuesday. There should be a new blog post out. With all of that, what we're wanting to do here in July is have a little bit of a teaser for things that we're going to be doing in the fall. So we're going to have a short run of episodes. I think we're aiming for five to 6 episodes. Yeah. And then we'll come back just in time for Halloween and finish out the year with some things. So you'll get a taste in the summers, just so you know what to look forward to and be prepared.
Exactly. So. I can't wait for the return of the fall and our Halloween season and some of the upcoming things during December, and it'll definitely be a different year, a fun year. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, me too. Well, thanks for having me and bringing me on board.
Of course, it is an honor to have you here with us. The blog has been fantastic. I had so much fun during this episode, and yeah, I can't wait for everything that's to come.
Awesome. Me too. Well, I guess I will say goodbye as I do on the blogs and say until next time, travelers.
Yes, it was so wonderful to have you guys back, and we will see you again very soon.
Circles round my head, leaves go up in flames of red, in flames of red. Worry ties me to the ground, feathers fall without a sound, without a sound. Burn on, dear flame, burn on, there's a light in the fire. Burn on, dear flame, burn on. The black heart calls to your deepest desire. Dead, old, rotten idea. You grow heavy, then you fall, so heavy, then you fall to the ground. I lay in a pile of my broken plans. They turn red and then they fall, so red and then they fall to the ground. I'm making black heart calls to your deepest desire. Burn on, dear flame, burn on. There's a light in the fire. Burn on, dear flame, burn on.